Hey guys, very excited today to bring you this video on the ultimate guide to playing college soccer in Europe. Now, when I say college soccer, I do not mean the traditional American experience of receiving a scholarship to go play at a school representing the university. But after having spent the last 4 months in Europe, it really opened my eyes to the opportunities that are out there and are available to kids that are looking to continue their playing careers after high school. I myself already completed college. I played in university in America. I did my undergrad, I did my master's. And when I was in high school and even when I was in college, I had no idea that opportunities like this were available. So that's why I'm bringing you this video today to help give you another option as to what you could potentially do with your career. Unfortunately, many students do quit after high school just because they don't have the opportunity to play in college. But over in Europe, there's so much opportunity, and we'll get into that. So growing up in America, I always heard, oh, you're so lucky as an American. You have the opportunity to continue your education while playing sports, sort of what college sports are known for. And I kind of always thought that was the status quo until I went out to Europe and spent time there and actually saw, what opportunities were available. And so today I'm going to show you sort of how I would approach this if I was in high school or if I was already in college and looking to transfer and sort of take a different route. So I was in Frankfurt, and the first thing that you want to do is to pick a city. Ideally, a big city, a big hub. Frankfurt is a large city in Germany. And as you can see here, in and around Frankfurt, you have cities like Wiesbaden, Mainz, and Darmstadt. These are all big cities with, lots going on, a lot of football clubs, great universities, and even just a little further outside of Frankfurt, you have other well-known university towns like Gießen and Marburg. If you're from that area, you are familiar with that. Heidelberg as well is another big one. So ideally, you want to pick a very big city where you're close to a lot. So some other areas that I can think of are like Dusseldorf, London, Amsterdam. I've actually spent time in Dusseldorf before, and you have big cities like Cologne that are there. And even in London, London is so centralized and so condensed. And so you just have so many opportunities in and around those areas to where if it doesn't work out with one team, you don't have to move pick up your whole life and move the way that you would in America. If you're in America and you're playing for a school in California and a school in Florida gives you an offer, you're moving across the country and it's a completely different life. So there are more cities. These are the first ones that came to mind. But you want to ideally pick somewhere that you have access to a lot of different major cities that are close by within a commutable area. Because the whole purpose of this plan is to be able to have you build a base in a big city and have access to a large number of teams to where if it doesn't work out at one team, you have the option to go to another without having to pick up and move your whole life. So the next step here is you're going to want to find universities, right? These were the three in Frankfurt that were very well known, that I was familiar with. Another really attractive thing with these universities is that they're not nearly as expensive as they are in America. Now, this Frankfurt School of Finance and Management, this is a private school, so you are going to pay more than what you would at Goethe or Frankfurt University of Applied Sciences. But still, you have these options. These are just three. There's so many more. Like I said, Mainz has them, Wiesbaden has them. There's just so many universities. And the one thing I forgot to mention with these cities, particularly what Europe is pretty well known for, is that the public transportation is amazing. So you don't even need a car. You can be living in Frankfurt and you can take the train to Mainz. You can take the train to Wiesbaden. The subway, what they call the S-Bahn, the U-Bahn, buses, everything. Like, you have the ability to get pretty much anywhere and everywhere. So living in Frankfurt and commuting to one of these cities is very realistic. So we talked about finding a university, and I even think schools like Goethe, they have campuses in America as well that, they let their students do international exchanges. And so, you're going to have a plethora of universities that you can apply to, that you'll have the availability. And what's really unique about finding a university is that this is actually going to help you secure a visa easier. So, I went into Grok and, basically AI, Twitter's version of AI, and sort of did some research as to, would it be easier to secure a student visa or a work visa? Because when you go out to Europe, if you're not a student, if you want to live in that country long term, you're going to have to get a work visa, right? And that's either going to be given to you through the employer from a job, or which could be the soccer club as well. But oftentimes in the lower division, these teams do not have the money nor the resources to want to give you a visa. So a student visa is almost a nice, unique way around this. So to just sort of read, you can pause the video here and you can read through this and look through this. But for the conclusion is that, you require fewer prerequisites as a student. The documentation is simpler. Approval rates are higher, and there's just more flexibility around a student visa. So the first thing that comes to mind is that, there's way more studying opportunities than there are potentially work opportunities in Germany. So if you come as a student, it just helps you get your foot in the door. And when you go to these teams to speak to them, one of the first questions that they're going to ask is, hey, like, can you work here, or are you able to actually live in the country? Which, when you have the student visa, you will have the ability to do so. So again, pause the video. You can read through this, see how, it applies to you and what makes sense. Some of you guys, you might have European passports and this might not be an issue. I myself hold a German passport, so this isn't a consideration for me. But another quote unquote barrier that I hear a lot of Americans bring up is the fact that they don't have a German or a European passport. So going the student visa route is a potentially different option for this. So securing a trial. I just pulled up here again using AI the amount of teams that are from the 5th division in Germany all the way down to the 7th. 5th is sort of, I would say, the highest level of semi-pro. 4th is a mix of fully professional teams and sort of semi-pro teams that maybe just got promoted from the 5th division. But between the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th division, you have anywhere from 96 to 133 teams that are all within a 1-hour commutable distance from Frankfurt. So as I mentioned, we want to help you get set up in a place where if you're studying at this university and maybe you've gotten a job while you're studying all these things, you are able to commute to these teams as needed. And so the other thing that I want to talk about is the demands that being a college athlete entails, particularly in America, because when you're a college athlete in America, you basically have no time for anything but your studies and your sport. And so this is something that if you decide to go over to Europe, at these levels, most of these teams are only practicing 3 times a week, right? And you might have 1 or 2 games on the week, but oftentimes, the games might be on one of the practice days if it is during the week. So you have a lot more time during the week to fill your schedule as needed, whether you want to go get a part-time job at a coffee shop or whether you need to study or, whatever the case may be. You have a little bit more flexibility that allows you to be successful not only in the classroom, but as well on the field. So just want to make sure I covered everything. I mean, those are pretty much the 3 things, that in regards to being central, right? Being in an area where you have access to, like I said, a total of up to 133 teams. It's cheaper. Not only not needing to have a car, the actual university costs itself are cheaper. Europe in general is sort of known for being cheaper than America. And ultimately, you have a easier schedule, as I just talked about. So, I would say this part here is the hardest because you're going to have connections. You're going to have to really back yourself. And, it's great if you get into the university and do all these things, but ultimately you do have to take care of business on the field for a team to want to offer you. And, you might deal with politics coming from America, not speaking the language, dealing with all these things. But ideally, if you're coming from a high level in America, you will be able to find yourself in one of these divisions and with a chance to, as well, to get promoted, to continue to really build a career out of soccer without having to give up your education. And that's ultimately the whole point of this video. So network is your net worth, right? And I created this community as a way to help goalkeepers. It's exactly why I'm making this video. Nowadays, it's so easy to get connected with pretty much anyone, and ultimately who is going to be the difference maker between the opportunities that you have and the opportunities that you don't. The whole reason I was in Frankfurt was because of a connection I had, a goalkeeper that played 3rd Bundesliga there who helped me get almost 8 or 9 trials while I was out there, which is more than I ever could have asked for. I would have gone out for 1, let alone 8 or 9. I mean, what else can you ask for? So again, this community is for you as you need it. I'm not going to tell you, oh, you have to sign up to our community in order to take advantage of this. No, I do believe our community has a lot of pieces to help you. We have a huge global network. We're at 61 members right now and growing. That might not sound like a lot, but really there's a lot of people that you can come in contact with just in that short or smaller number of people. And, through the community, you have the access to work with, pros who have been in your shoes, who can give you the guidance, give you the advice, help use their connections to get you where you need to go. And, we have opportunities that are in our community. If you check out our, community here, we have an entire section of playing opportunities that we post, to our members. We also have a section here in the classroom where you actually have a network of players that is for coaches only. So you have the opportunity to put your information in there, and that will automatically get blasted to our network of coaches. So again, this is something that if you want to take advantage of, it is here to help you. But by no means am I saying that you have to sign up for this in order to take advantage of this guide and the ability to play in Europe. So I hope this was helpful. This is something I wish I would have known when I was coming through. And I hope that, through my experience, I can help you in yours. Drop a like, please subscribe, help grow the channel, let us help as many goalkeepers as possible. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. More than happy to respond and help you however I can. All right, guys, thank you so much.